a couple minutes.
Board members for.
That's true. I like that hat. Nice hat.
This is the third, Ward's the third person. Where do I get my hat?
Yeah.
Today that I've been involved, including my dentist. I wore my this head and he said, boy, that's a good looking hat. It is, isn't it?
Covers a good looking head.
Huh?
Covers a good looking head.
Well, see, this way it keeps
I'm
it on
gonna track. I have a hat for every occasion.
There you go.
I think you're aware of that. And sometimes I wear three different ones in the course
I
of the
think
day,
that was out of the base.
depending on what's going on.
That is a cool hat.
Your head went out the door here before long.
It ended right here.
All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We got a busy day. I knew Mickey was coming through the door there. I'd like to welcome everybody here for our first Water Conservation Committee meeting for the Paradise Irrigation District on Tuesday, January 7th. And we got a very full packed agenda. We got 3 people or 4 people here, 2 in particular that are really with us. And so we're going to start, and President Dowdett, Michael Spees, Jim said he is planning on being here for the back a little bit. But we'll go ahead and start with him. And public participation. Is there anyone here that wants to say anything that's not on the agenda? Or wants to be invited, Jack? You're going to have plenty to say. If you have anything else you want to say. And then the reason we have to do this, I know that Jack is involved with this, we have to follow the guidelines of the state of the It keeps us all honest and up to date. Okay, we'll go ahead and get the minutes. Those of you, the minutes of December 10th, and as always, Jim has done an outstanding job. Any changes that you see that need to be made?
Looks the same as it did when we read it online.
Yep.
Pretty
Like
much.
that.
I'm the first if anybody second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
We're not approving information on.
Okay.
So we'll have the minutes as stand as position. And what we did with this for particularly Jack, this is the first year that this conservation committee has functioned. Seth was one of the last things he was doing last year, not the last thing, about midway through your term, I guess it was. Seth, he established this committee and we have people from the community involved, which is Belinda and Ward and Michael Speaks. We put it on the paper and they joined it, and the rest of us are staff or whatever. Mickey here is in front of us. And Jim is the water treatment superintendent, and that makes sure you have good fresh water there. Of course, everybody knows George. And then Seth and I are on the board in here. And we put together a program of work. And we've been reviewing it ever since, and we're not going to take any time this evening because we want to get down to item D, which is really what we're here for, along with all this other stuff. And Mickey, you were going to talk about the water wheel conservation software. Is there any, or do you want to postpone that?
Oh, I just have a small update. I have been talking with the software company.
Okay.
So they had some questions just to kind of get a better idea of what we wanted as far as the dates on the bill. So it looks like there's a couple different options for us. You know, anything that has to do with the calculation is probably easy to do as far as calculating the last year's water bill, and then also accruing. They definitely think they can do it, you know, so, but I haven't gotten the final and I haven't gotten any costs.
Good, thank you. All right. Good. Thank you. And at our next meeting, we'll more time and detail. Just we got things. And then the next thing that we were putting together out here on the side was some the landscaping for the yard here, and I'm kind of talking to other people, talking about what's happening here. And a couple of people from the community came up, well, why don't we, in that little spot that you see up here, it's kind of an ideal site for a paradise vegetable type garden. And that's what you see, and there's post rocks in the front of it, and our crew got in and worked the ground up, and we planted the cover crop in it, and it's growing. And we've lost a little bit of it in drought, in spot of it, but we're trying to get a head start on the spring. And the normal thing, as you guys both know, is to work the ground, kind of follow, or we're going to talk about it, and we put a plow down, a cover crop on it, which is the grasses and legumes. And we got a germination with a little bit of rain, and it's hanging in there. But there's a spot kind of out in the middle that I think the drought is taking the plants. But if we start getting some rain, and we were talking about irrigating it, and that kind of a cover crop, you generally let the rain take care of it, you know, so it would have been, you know, but it's looking good, and I just walked it a couple days ago. And there's some spots we definitely lost, but if we start getting some rain, which will be all right later, we can get in there and do some spot planting. Would you agree with that, Edward?
Well, it looks like it would, yes.
Yeah. Because we could have irrigated and solved the problem, but with the potential drought we're in, it would have been a defeating purpose, because normally you have the rain take care of all that, you know. But they're having that problem in the valley, and I'm sure you're aware of that. In fact, there's some wheat, large acreages of wheat on the west side, they're gonna have to replant, and they just don't have any stand at all. You know, it germinated, and it's basically dying. But it's amazing if we get some rain, and the showers that Jim was talking about. I've seen that come back, you know. Feed for livestock, not growth, it's sort of something. But anyway, so that's on hold, and if we have a drought, what we figured we would do is we'll just decide, say we're not planting garden because of the drought, you know. But if it is, we're gonna be working on March and April for a standard small veg crop for the Paradise District. It should be really good. Dr. Petro was the one that suggested it, and then Vicky's been working on it. So we got a head start on that. Now, without anybody else have anything, I have buzzed along here for sure, okay? D, that's where we're at now, landscape irrigation workshop, and when we contacted the people before Christmas, and Jack, you replied to this, and we got supplies to others, but I don't know if any will show up. We already have on board the Paradise Unified School District, and Mike Trika, and Jack Spees, and Jack, want me to introduce you, or want to introduce yourself?
Excuse
You want to
me.
introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jack Screener, I'm the manager of the Paradise Cemetery District. Been there for 36 years.
Yeah.
So
I was very interested in being part of this, and finally yesterday I caught up with Tom. I know Tom, and I had been in class a long time ago, and worked with him on pesticide work and stuff like that. I finally caught up with him yesterday, and talked about it, and he's very interested in being it, started sharing some stuff with me. And basically what we're doing, George, anytime you want to jump in, you do it. If you go to page, it's not numbered, but go to the page, we shine on the wall.
I'm trying to,
That's good, okay.
having some technical difficulties.
Well, when you hit the 9th decade, even your thumbs stop working properly. I don't know if I read the pages. Okay, it's on the back here, it's just what you're, you want to move it, you'll have it on the wall here. And you remember the beds, this is kind of the tentative outline that we came up with, and Jim was the one that really put the polishing on it. And one of the big things is to get, making sure Tom and Jack are aware of what we're doing, and hopefully get your ideas, and you think it's still a good idea. It's the first time something like this, to my knowledge, and George is also, or anybody else, that we tried this. And if you, what we were putting together was something that would be beneficial for all, and we were zeroing in on the larger users, and then we will bring in anybody that wants to get involved with it. But also some of the larger landscape companies, you know, that supply the region up here. But, you know, you four people, entities are really the big ones. And I know Tom, and I talked to him some yesterday, he's got a bunch of stuff on it. And so what this will do for this workshop on February the 27th, it'll give you guys an idea of what we're talking about. You can start thinking about it and brainstorming, and we're just one of the first planning sessions, other than laying out somewhat the outline, and anything can be changed. Okay, not this year. So, what we would come up with on that day, it'd be a half-day project, and we will furnish lunch. It will be here. Decide that we may want to start out here and go someplace else. We have lunch provided, as you can see. And then we'll have a short welcome and keynote. And Lauren here takes videos of our regular meetings, which is really good because we can relate to a bigger cycle. And he's going to fill this, because what we're going to do on the 27th of February, he's going to be filming or videoing the whole program, and then New College has already agreed to go through and edit it. And so this will be the planning section. Like where we're at, thank you for, I said you might be a little late, Michael. We're on this page here, wherever it's at. We just basically started with this concept. But I want to, before I forget it, the last meeting, Michael is a professor down at Chico State of irrigation and all that stuff. And I picked up this outstanding, and I kind of think I was a little crude to you, for Cal Poly. I was really impressed with this super. Remember that? Okay. And he took it, you know, I said, where's Chico State? You know my involvement in Chico State. And about 3 days later, to make me feel sheepish, here it comes. Chico State. And it's 60 years. And they even quote me in this one, which Cal Poly didn't. Did you read this yet, Michael? Okay. And lo and behold, they got a whole bunch of things. They happened to my bugshot's not out here on the front page. When I was about 60 years young.
Well, it's because you're remarks about Cal Poly. I called him on the phone, I said, you gotta put Doug in this one.
But anyway, so I apologize, and do I stand corrected? Am I calling, I'm as bad as him is?
Well, yeah, you can have Davis too, I don't care.
Okay. But both of them are really
Yes,
good.
it's equal time.
Exactly.
So where we're at now is planning, and I'm gonna stop talking and let's do some roundtable discussion of what we want this workshop. What we want, when we first started, the lake was spilling actually. When we started talking about doing this, the lake was actually spilling, Paradise Lake. And what we were putting together was a wise use of water. You know, that was our whole thought, the wise use of water, and that's of course still the same thing. And we may not be in a drought, but then again, we, you know, who knows what's going to happen in the future. Let's hope the lake spills anyway. So, I'm going to stop and let's talk about it.
Well, let's talk about the master gardeners first.
Yes, please.
I asked one of the vice presidents of the garden club about who would be the recommended person to contact. The current president is Kay Perkins, and she and then several others also recommended that for two reasons, or for two events. David Walther, who owns Spring Fever Nursery and is an expert in xeriscaping and limited irrigation, not only be part of the workshop on the 27th, but also in assisting the either layout or system of irrigation that is going to go in the demonstration garden. So I thought that's excellent. And then when he was contacted, he said, I would definitely like to be part of that. So we just need to get back to him, preferably by email. He said the date, the timing, the cost involved, whatever, about the workshop, and he would like to be here. He'd also like to know if there's anything you'd like him to bring or any other information from him if you'd like to have. So I will do the follow-up, if you like, with that to make sure that he gets that invitation.
That'd be great.
Okay. All right. But there were others that are in the garden club but are also part of Master Gardeners that would like to be interested in the planning of the actual garden itself. Whether we get to it this spring or it's later, you know, once we know that we're in good shape soil-wise and we've got water meter, et cetera, but wouldn't commit to any additional labor, which is one of the things we're looking for is, you know, year-round service. Now, the new project at Paradise Elementary is struggling to be successful because they don't have sustainability. In other words, they don't have a commitment from any group after making several presentations around town for when the school is closed. So they're looking at 2.5 months of all of their work went down the drain. So they're struggling with that. I say we have a bit of a heads up on them because we may be doing something where if somebody misses an activity for a month, the whole thing's not going to die away. Yeah, because we're thinking water conservation, they weren't.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the last thing is we talked about signage. And of course, you know, I planted the daffodils. We have 1,000 of them that go around the rocks now. So come spring, a little water assuming, that's going to look pretty good. But Park and Rec has them now at the sign, the entrance sign for the future home of Noble Orchard Park, and where the future home of Lake Erie Circle Park is going to be. There's a planting there, so they're going to try not to dig up the walls when they put the sign. So we have that. So I'm thinking, let's not them get too far ahead of us. So when we get a sign up, future home of demonstration garden or whatever the verbiage is, let's get some more planting around that, whether it's a seasonal thing or what have you, so that it's just drawing attention to that. And I think that gets us a better hedge with the public or anybody walking the sidewalk or anybody driving by. Now, when we did the daffodils, we had our sign up, Paradise Garden Club at work. And, you know, people drive by, they honk their horn, they wave, what have you. And in yesterday's garden club meeting, people were saying, what a great idea to do that. What a good, well, it's not the only time the sign's been used, of course. But it's also, if I got this right, it's going to appear in the PID bill? Yes?
Yes,
It's already printed.
Okay.
it'll be in January bill.
Okay. So that's another way when we're promoting, hey, this is really a great idea, and, you know, what else?
So we
can
mentioned
people
that
use?
those plants take no extra water, but those daffodils always
Yeah.
take no extra water.
I know, they're plain and simple little, but they're also known as the flower of hope, so we're hopeful.
God needs to chip in just a little bit of water though.
Well, Tom,
To survive.
Jack can give you an idea of what we're doing as far as the medical garden, a lot of things happening, as I mentioned, this is the first year of this committee. But anything else on that board or no? Okay, good. Well,
That's my
I told Tom and Jack both that we would be done by 4 as far as 5 Monday. Go ahead.
Where did Mr. Walter, did you spell his name?
Walter, W-A-L-T-H-E-R, David Walter, owner of Spring Fever Nursery,
Is that Chico?
Yankee Hill.
Yankee Hill.
So in his elevation, his property is very similar to ours.
Okay, well then we're gonna move on down to the, like I opened it up, and it's, the draft for the landscape irrigation workshop agenda, if we go to that, George, were you gonna get something on the wall?
Finally got it.
Good.
What's that? There it is.
You know, the bottom line, and here again, I'll be talking to, well, everybody, but primarily Jackie and Tom. Both yourselves and any other landscaper that attends, when they leave at the end of the session, we want them to say, boy, this was good. You know, I really got some very good ideas. Some of the things we're doing is good, I got some other ideas, so that's what we want. Is that
Yeah,
better?
we want to know what you guys want to learn.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Well, I'm wondering if you're gonna have any, possibly like vendors that would have water conservation products that maybe that could be presented to those that attend the workshop.
I talked to Joel down at Ace, and he's gonna allocate somebody for us. And I said if they've got some products that they wanna come up and display, he's gonna do that. I got there last week, had a chance to talk to him, so. And then, he doesn't really have a running list when I'm thinking about it. We were talking about maybe him being able to generate a list of landscapers. He said they're all just numbers in the computer. There's no way that they're not grouped by landscapers. But if we come up with a sign-up sheet and want to do some type of little signage, then he said we can put it out in the yard, in the plumbing department, or the irrigation for the yard irrigation, and even plumbing, because low flow will be part of this too. The new low flow rule put into effect for building code. But we can put a sign up there and a sign up sheet, and one over in the irrigation department, the sign up sheet, and one out in the yard. So that those will be the 3 most prominent places landscapers should be, looking for stuff. And then the guys will be kind of briefed on it, the guys that work those departments will be like, hey, did you see this? And he had cards in his, he had like 4 cards. 4 landscaper cards, and it wasn't even the big names that I'm used to seeing, the big trucks. And so they're driving around doing landscape. It wasn't any of those. So So yeah, hopefully they'll do, and then you were gonna talk to Normac, and I thought that wasn't that you that was gonna?
Yeah, I went in there, when I wanted to talk to the manager, I'll get back to work.
Yeah.
It wasn't there, they just had to have holidays and all this sort of thing. But I know they'll participate.
Well, Normac,
Did you talk to them?
Ewing, no, I said Normac, Ewing, and Cheaper Sprinklers, all would be your suspects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Do you have any other vendors that you're thinking of, Tom?
I was just thinking, you know, from some of the companies like Toro or Hunter, Rainbird, whether or not they would have an area rep that could participate in this, it might be helpful.
The Hunter rep is out of Sacramento, like.
Don Franklin, possibly.
Yeah, Don, yeah.
Michael was kind of taking over that area, in fact, it didn't have to, but the 115 sprinkler types of products, were you still doing some work on that area?
I am.
You ordered it? All in favor?
George highly recommended you.
And I think the program needs some diversity, though, people.
Well, that's what we've got here. Wow, would you mind telling me, when he took over his position, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did yesterday, one of the key things that the top management wanted at the hospital was for you to tell them what you've done so far.
Well, initially when I took over some 20 years ago as supervisor, first thing they asked was to move the hospital into water conservation. They want a beautiful campus, but they wanted good use of our resources. So at that time, a lot of our irrigation controllers were mechanical controllers where you would push a pin in and everything ran, whatever was on schedule. Well, I changed everything over to digital where we had separate programs where I could divide up plant material from turf so that I'm not watering everything at the same time. So since then, of course, we've moved into a number of other areas where we have flow sensors on our master valves. We have the ability that if we have a break in one of our irrigation main lines, that is sensed and the controller will shut off the master valve and close off the entire main line. So we're also moving into, Hunter has what they call Solar Sync, which is an ET-based program that you have on your controller, and it waters based on ET, on weather conditions.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to make a comment, and I think that the primary thing should be with the products part. Because the very type of thing
Water
you're
use
talking about,
application
the
and time
technology, you know, some of that's pretty affordable now.
It's getting better, yeah, but it is still low pricey.
I mean, the commercials are, yeah.
When we organized a lot of vendors fairs, and we, not only do they display, but we want them, had them come up and we give them 10 minutes, not to talk about their company, but to talk about the technology in their product. It's not a sales, they're salesmen. Of course. But they're not to sell you, they're to talk about the features. You kind of touched on the features just then. That's what the audience wants to hear.
That's what we hope, at 115 slot, we hope to get someone from Chico Sprinkler or Hunter or somebody to cover that section.
Right. Jack, you're mainly turf. Is there anything you've been able to upgrade on turf or that you'd like to share, or you want to try to upgrade, or any thoughts?
Well, at the cemetery right now, the way things are going, you're heading towards cremations versus like last year we did 150 burials, 90 of them were cremations. That's down from the normal 2 to 220 burials that we've been doing. So what's happening at the cemetery is you're taking up less room, making less money because it's cheaper to do cremations. So we still have the same amount of water area to irrigate, But because we're doing niches and things like that, we're dropping down to drip systems in smaller areas. Now, I have a new section I have to put in, and because of this drought, what I think is gonna happen, we're gonna probably wait till the very last minute, because once you put a section in, you have to start going it and watering. In '96, when I took over in '94 as manager, '96 we put a well in. And so we're watering all the flat ground that you see down there with the well. Stuff that was already put in the old section is PID water. I tried to tie them in. I don't have the volume, the small pipes. And with the way that the economy's going at this time, we may not be doing a lot of changing of our irrigation systems because it's expensive. If you're just looking at an area to water, you can put a pipe anywhere. But when you're in a cemetery, you can't put a pipe in. You got 1 foot to put pipes in. So if you talk about revamping things, it's a major, major problem. And we did go to all electronic, and we got rid of, like Tom said, the push button pegboards, and because when you're running a well, what you don't want it to do is shut off and come on, shut off, come on. Because every time it does, it bangs on your walls. Well, we got a 20-horse pump, and it pumps 450 gallons a minute. I mean, it's capable of it. We're pumping 275. And so eventually we're going to run out of time in the day and night to water over years. Because we're running 12 hours a night with the well, and then we have to turn on things by hand. Now, I know there's new products out there that would be, that are battery operated, and you don't have to. They'll open on their own. But you still have to have something to tell the well to come on. So those are the things that I know that are probably available. But in our case, we've always made budget, but the budget profit is minimal right now. And in all the years I've been there, we still have 3 employees, a manager and a secretary. So there is not a lot of people changed in 36 years, I think.
Good. Okay, well, the 115 section that I jumped down, like I got 2 deals in the wrong spot, I'm sorry. But I visited you in here before. That's basically where you're thinking that we would use our vendors and have them give a little presentation. Tom and I are involved in pop-up, which is pesticide outfit. We do this all the time. And you don't have people as a salesman, they're there as an expert in whatever they're marketing, you know. And so we can do that, like Jim was saying. And then we'll get down to, at 2 o'clock, thereabouts, right, we were going to do the water use application and timers and all of that stuff.
And Michael, during that session, I think we can plug in 10 minutes for either me or Mickey to show everybody what kind of output we get with our new automated metering system. So that's a tool they can use for kind of get some history to see what's going on before they make changes, and then they come out and get another report and see what the results are after they've implemented those changes. So we can squeeze into your spot as part of that.
Yeah, we got some time to coordinate that.
That'd be great.
Do you want to do what Michael said though, and move timers up into the 115 slot, so that's more with the vendor talking about that? Because you're going to talk about like setting your timers, we'll have it at noon in the day and the. Timers would be product, timing would be application.
And that's kind of, I think of that as hardware, not.
Yeah, exactly, application, you do that.
Did Mr. Walther did you have an idea of him doing a presentation?
He is available to do that, yes.
Can he do like best irrigation practices, or is that? What was his forte?
Sure can find out. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, people that visit his nursery are impressed with his irrigation, because he'll say, well, I don't water this, and this we do, minimally. Say, well, I grow those, and I water like crazy, they sure don't look like yours. So too much water.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah, I think there's things you can do with what you have, and then there's things you can do when you're gonna spend some capital, it may be changing out your plant scapes, more drought tolerant stuff, or it may be changing your whole irrigation system around. There's a lot more capital in there. So the low-hanging fruit is the things we can do without changing out the infrastructure, plant or, sprinkler stuff.
Yes.
Doug, last meeting, I think we discussed what smaller landscapers, smaller than the cemetery or for the river, would be needing. And I think George had mentioned something about resources available from the district to help them help their clients see where the growth is and where they're using their water, and when it's gone up and down. Somehow.
That's what I was referencing in the,
Okay, so that section is,
working with him.
Yeah.
that's going to be a,
It's gonna be at the, water use application of management.
okay, so you're going to, well, that's going to talk about PID partnering with them to help them give information to their customers.
Yep, by explaining what we can offer as far as information.
Okay.
Well, there are formulas you can use to schedule irrigation programs. Formulas using science and not the by guess and by golly method that I need to water, based on soil type, plant material, output of your sprinkler heads. That formula could be plugged together, and I think people in town could make a lot better use of their water if they were basing it on something other than, well, I turn it on and it runs every day. At the hospital, I water plants and shrubs 3 days a week, and turf areas 4 days a week. And I talk to people all the time in this community that are watering 7 days a week. So I think that's an area where it could be dialed down on the homeowners a little bit.
I think there's, I have to dig around, but I think there's still some websites around that help people plug in their numbers and help them generate a schedule and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
The why. That's where we came up with the wise use of water.
Right.
That's wise use of water. Well, I'm looking at far more often than I want to on landscape, but all three of his locations, 3 days a week over at your place over there, and a couple days other places. I have no idea to look at your landscape that much. But one of the things I've noticed any time of the year, their plants always look the same. They never look stressed, they never look overwatered and under, the ground cover, where there's weeds growing that shouldn't be there, and water rushing on it. And that's what impressed me, and I just was talking to these people before, the plants always look the same, they always look good, and that's great.
I appreciate that.
Are we holding the workshop here?
Yes.
So how many attendees can we hold, and aside from people who are presenting?
What were we going to
Capacity.
50?
48, so we need to minus out the people who are teaching,
Yep.
and then 48.
This workshop will go out, the information that you people are putting out on the bill and paper and whatever, like that. Yeah. Well, let me add, Tom, maybe I should, but I don't talk about that more. You think we're on the right track?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Did you actually think we're on the right track?
Yeah, I think that the main thing is information.
Yeah.
You need information, if you don't have it, you can't progress.
Yeah, well, we actually changed, when we first started, we were meeting on the second Tuesday of the month, and kind of a standing committee type. And then by looking at the calendar, we moved it to the first Tuesday, and the reason is so we would have plenty of time to plan for the 27th of February. And that's why, it would have been 2 or 3 weeks later. And I'm happy that we decided a committee to do that, because, we don't have a lot of time to put it together now. And for these vendors and all of this, we really need to
you know, give them plenty of time, they'll have what they're already committed to. Yeah, we picked February the 20, the end of February because of the time factor, a little bit better weather, and we would also have a better idea what's happening weather-wise, and rainfall and all that other stuff. Yeah, Michael, is there anything else you wanted to talk about on your 2 o'clock session? Michael, anything else on your 2 o'clock session? Do you think we're on the right track on your?
Oh, yeah, well, I just, yeah.
Okay.
So the thing I'm really worried about is that 2 o'clock is right after that lunch is settled. You know,
You gotta wake them up.
All right. And then coming on now.
2 o'clock, sir.
You know,
2 beats.
of all the conferences that I've attended over all the years that you people are in the same situation, one of the things that I always take away from more than anything else is much of the round table. We'll figure out how to bring people out, and that's where you people, particularly the quieter ones that are always listening, you can really start sharing ideas, you know, so that round table will be a very key factor. When we get closer, yes, Jack?
We have a cemetery association, and they have meetings periodically a couple times a year. And that's one of the most productive, is they'll split the secretaries up, they'll split the managers up, and then they'll split the board members up. And you all go out, and all you do is sit around and talk, and each cemetery is different, just like PID. You'll get more information from that probably than anything else.
Well, you know, as we're brainstorming, what we were talking about doing is, we will have, it could be any one of us that would be at this part of the round, you know, the table and another, so that, you know, kind of separate it out. We got plenty of time to put that together.
But thought about this roundtable,
Yes,
that really we could encourage the call it an attendee discussion. Just encourage anybody in the audience to war stories.
okay.
Somebody starts sort of
And you gotta
Kind of a
think it
style.
that way, Because a lot of times roundtables have like an expert in each one, and I don't think that's what we're looking
Oh,
Yeah.
we go.
thing, looking at the audience to share their local issues.
Okay.
And somebody will kind of kick it off, and they'll get, you know, once you get one person talking, then the next person, and the next person, and you can burn up 45 minutes real quick with just letting the audience wake up and speak.
So instead of calling it a roundtable, we want to call it attendees sharing or something like that?
Sharing,
Why
yeah,
don't you put it down in the minutes?
sharing, that's.
well, yeah, Tim, I was thinking that, you know, that's a good place to solicit ideas for future activities.
And ideas.
for.
Well, at least that may come out of it.
Well, you see, I know for a fact that all of us, by sharing with you two people, I keep pointing to you at Tom and Jack, we can learn a bunch just from you guys right here. You take it home or wherever we're going, you know, because you've done there, been there, done it. You've already presented this time, you know. And I bet you have some people on your staff. Would you have a person or two on your staff that would
Oh,
benefit by coming to this?
oh, I'm sure, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, this, actually, I think George is the one that came up with this. You know, on the 4 o'clock when we close, you know, the questionnaire and all that, we're evaluating it. Because we're looking at this as an annual event. Of course, next year we'll do something different than we did this year and have it grow. We come up with a certificate, you know, the computer of the day, and so they actually have something to go back and we would call it whatever, an irrigation workshop or some written name on it, you know. And so that they would have something to take with, you know.
I was going to suggest, I know you mentioned the nursery over in Concal, whether or not Jerry or John Menden might not be a good attendee for this program.
I talked to John a long time ago, and of course I know Jerry, most of us, they would be very happy.
Yeah,
And also Barry at the garden shop, that's the only one I talked to, and Pat.
because certainly plant selection, I think, plays a big part in water conservation.
Now, we were, you know, that's a key factor, but we didn't know how much of that to bring in. That's a whole area of itself.
Yeah,
You know, we certainly want to introduce some of it, but, you know, maybe that's what we want to zero in on, but, as I can see, you know, like say next year, that would be a big section of it.
Your-
selection.
Your keynote, you could address that. In a keynote, you're gonna have to have a topic.
Yep.
It's brief, but you could talk, that could start this whole thing, kick it off and provide a,
Well, you know, we
Just
just still
general.
provide some take-home materials on temperature.
Sure.
yeah. And then you get them all thinking about
I'm thinking
how
of
everything
the
else
hospital,
we're
you plant
seeing.
all that bunch grass
applies to-
down there, is that's a bunch grass of some sort? You know, that's, that's something that you may not want to be able to tear out, but if you're thinking about a new landscape.
Were you here when I talked about that?
Yeah.
Tip was really, speaking of Butte College, Tip was really interested in being involved in this. And that's where he's at right now, is in a water conservation meeting going on somewhere. He's been to 2 or 3 of them this fall already. Or he would, I think he'd be there. He's really interested in it. And he would be an ideal one, along with Mendon and Barry, all that, on the plant selection. That he'd be able to do. Well, I'm sure we get something together for a handout, because it's a big piece. But you know, one of the things on the vendor,
Maybe.
is some new, you know, like your water system that you guys are talking about, we had just hooked together, maybe not even working, but it's better. Because I've done some of these hydraulic systems, you know, where you have a board, not a picture's worth 1,000 words. You know, we can really talk about that, so we'll have time to put that together. And, actually, Normac has done that before with the, some irrigation stuff. Well, I did-
Even if it was on a handout, pictures,
Yeah, picture,
rather than an actual demonstration model.
yeah, or maybe we can even have, you know, something set up, just a demonstration of just screw together.
Sure.
So anyway, good.
That's what I'll do, I'll water the audience, that'll be.
We'll run it dry.
So if there is actually a limit to capacity, do you think maybe we should do the sign-up sheet in the office where people call in to register instead of having sign-up sheets throughout town?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's
Because
exactly
we have it set up that they need to register before.
Okay,
That's like put in the newsletter, it's already.
Whatever.
Put some signage
We
down
need more
there.
flyers in those 3 spots, but they need to call the office.
And I was thinking, we'll do the details, but I was thinking the flyers would be something they could actually take with them, so that it's not just there, that they can take
No,
a
exactly,
small
something to grab
thing with them,
onto.
so that they can go home and call and register.
Because they're not gonna stand there and go, oh, let me write it down.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a piece of paper.
I'm assuming we're going to limit attendance to a specific number.
Can we say limited attendance?
And
Yes, we can say that.
I think we should do
Yeah.
that.
Because
If they put a
max
spouse,
out
if they're
about-
not counting a spouse, then that's what happened with the field trip.
We're gonna max out about 30.
Okay, so we'll limit it to 30 attendees now.
That will give them
I
the
think so.
That's an
urgency to
incentive
sign
too,
up.
which is
Yeah.
good.
Sign up quick because then
Right.
you miss your free lunch.
Well, that would be good. Well,
So
I know that the,
agencies, PUSD,
school
and the hospital
district,
will sign up now. and
Parks and
then-
Rec really want to be involved, you know, they're not here.
Yeah, they need to call in and sign up, because we don't know. He may want to send 4 people,
Yeah.
or he may have a couple,
Okay.
or just himself, that's how it is.
Okay. That's what I'm
Started
saying.
at the top, I did not know, so I'm not sure if it was that, but Mike, you could, or whoever.
Mhm.
I'd say, maybe, school district. But anyway, so it's good. Now, before I forget it, she read this off, this is something that seems like every time I forget to read the paper, there's always an article that I should read. This is one the Ward brought up. So on December the 1st, maybe you read that, the ER, the stenographer, and then Ward put a letter in on it. And we have copies, so if you'd like a copy of that, they're right up here. The editorial and the reply. I asked Ward if he didn't mind this series.
No, I don't want to share it. It's a public record in the newspaper, yeah. I said, no, I don't want to share it. I get quite a few letters published because I write a lot. I don't publish them all. But this one generated some of the most positive feedback I've had on anything I've written. And one guy talked to me for 20 minutes, and he said, of all the places he's lived around the world, America is the most wasteful country when it comes to resources. Water, power, natural resources, and on and on and on. And he said, your comment about using drinking water to flush a toilet, he says, that just got me right in my heart. He said, because 3 of the places I live, overseas, Europe, Africa, and someplace else, he says they would bucket water from the dirtiest stream around to clean their toilet facility, which was not a flush toilet. He said that they would have given anything to have the kind of water that we have, and we take it for granted. You know, you just open the pipe and there's your water. You can do anything with it you want. You can water, you can flush your toilet, wash your car, run it down the street, drink it. It's all the same.
That's because I want to blame George, Jim, and Mickey for that. We're spoiled.
Yeah, we're spoiled.
No, actually, they use regulations.
It is regulated,
I mean, if you go back to PID's local history, in the '70s, we took water right out of the lake, into the pipes, and it went to everybody. It was regulation that caused it.
We're doing a bunch of that right now that they're going to be hearing about in a minute. Okay, the last item on the agenda, because of the fact that I know you want to hear about that, at least I do, you see, George is going to be talking about the water supply update. George is ready to go over that.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger, but it looks pretty bad. Right now, it looks bad. I'll start with the worst part and maybe get a little better as we go. This is an estimate I put together based on the last 5 years of usage in PID and where our current storage level is right now, which is just over 7,000 acre-feet of water. And if we get no more rain this year, or really similar to the calendar year 2013, where there was really not much precipitation, if we don't institute cutbacks, we will be out of water by December in our reservoirs. So something's going to have to give. I haven't made any adjustments until April 1st. We've done a lot of studies and looking at our information, and that's a key date for us. If we get too excited too early, generally we can get some relief in March that helps out. Now we're starting so low this year that we're going to gear up a lot sooner than that. And so we may have to start things in March just based on weather predictions, etc. But this is kind of what our plan is right now. So you can see that if we, no change, we run out of water. If we only had a 10% reduction, we've only got 1,000 acre-feet left at the end of the year, all the way up to a 50% reduction, which still only leaves us 3,500 acre-feet, which isn't a real comforting number when we use 7,000 acre-feet in a calendar year, typically. So this is the beginning of putting together a set of tools. Next week at our board meeting, I'll be asking the board to create a drought committee that will help us work out policies, how we would implement cutbacks, the financial side, all of those things related to drought response. This committee will work on. This is where we're at right now. This is Paradise Reservoir, where the majority of our water is stored. You can see that we're right here at 25, almost 45 in elevation compared to all of the other years. This one right here is 2009. We were kind of in a similar position, but we pulled out of it later in the spring. So this kind of shows you why we kind of picked April as our drop dead date. This was 1991. That's the most recent, really drastic year. And even in that year, I don't think the district had mandatory cutbacks. I think it was just education campaigns. This shows you where our average storage level is from 98 to 2013 is in the blue line. Last year, this is where we were at in yellow. We had it real flat because we filled before January 1st, which was wonderful with those late year rains, and then nothing came. So our winter usage, we just kind of stayed even, and then we dropped off. And now we end up where we're at. No fall precipitation to speak of at all. So we're starting the year behind the curve, which is 2,800 acre-feet lower than average at this time of year. And we're at 61% of total storage. This is a chart again of our total storage, not reservoir elevation, so we're just under 7,500 acre-feet of storage currently, and we're starting way behind the curve. But as you can see in all of these years, things usually improve in January, February, March. This is a January 1st data point, even though it looks like it might be mid-January. So you can see some of this rise is generally January and then February storm events, but I follow that up with the 45-day forecast from AccuWeather. So you can see that pretty much all of January we've got a 1/10 inch prediction and a 0.4 inch, and that is it at this point predicted for January. February is looking a little better, like some storm events in the second week of February.
Whole week of rain.
So that will help. It'll help considerably, but you know, the big thing is, it is just prediction. If we can get this high pressure system to go away, then the storms will start coming in. And if it keeps being stubborn, it'll be a really ugly spring.
How much does PID count on a snowpack?
None. Zero. Our watershed is about 12 square miles, and the upper end of it has no snow pack period.
Just one creek running into it.
Yeah, it's all around. It's pretty good, productive watershed, but no snow.
I was looking at the end of December monthly report, and the simplest number that I give you now is that last year, December 31st, our lake was spilling. It was actually plus 0.2 and plus 0.2, so it was spilling. On December 31st, just 2013, 22 feet below spilling. So, 22 feet below spilling is, and we were spilling last year, so.
Okay.
That's the easiest number I can give you to remember.
Yeah, Paradise Lake's about 250 acres, so it takes a foot to get 258 feet.
I've heard our lake does respond well to heavy rains, that once the ground's saturated, we get a lot of runoff from rain. And it responds quickly, fills quickly,
Yeah.
and that's the optimism.
Crush fingers, pray.
But you do need that intense first storm to get everything wet. Because if we get one of these little tiny rainfalls, it just goes right in.
And hopefully the snow saturated everything pretty
Isn't
substantially.
Folsom on a 20% reduction already?
City of Folsom, yes.
Right, and then some Sacramento as well are gonna follow suit, right? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, but if you remember, as we talked on this committee, right now we're around 3 million gallons a day versus summer, which is 12 to 14 million gallons a day. We have a huge outdoor watering population, so when we do cutbacks, that's where we're focused. When you have a city of Folsom, it's a very dense city. So they get benefits by starting early because their majority of usage is indoor use.
And it seems to me that with some sort of conservation effort on the horizon, we might have some opportunities and just public education too.
The water stories on the internet today related to Northern California water utilities who've had reservoirs going dry already. I was just talking about Southern California, now they're talking about Northern California, small water systems are
Lake
trouble.
County, yeah.
And one of the things the drought committee has to tackle is we have an A-rate, which is our water conservation customers. They use less than 85 units of water in an entire year. And that portion of our district has grown to probably pushing 30% of our customers are on A-rate. So if you've made this commitment early on to use less than 85 units an entire year, we can't really reach to those people and ask them to cut back 20%, 30%, or 40%, because they've done their part and they've made all those changes. So now we're focused on this other group, and that impact's even going to be heavier for them. So it comes down to your yards are at risk. I've had that spiel every year. I've given my presentation at the tour, and now it's potential reality.
The article about American River today I read, it's just at its historic lows that anybody's ever seen. Water coming through the water that fills, American River filling that reservoir at
It's coming out of
Folsom, lowest ever. And they're now, Sacramento's talking about no watering of grass. This is all happening, this is all coming about today on the internet.
So you need to stock up on green paint.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Well, that's one thing I'd like to learn from these experts, because I've heard mixed stories. If you let your lawn die, and I know it's probably depending on what you put down, you let your lawn die in a drought, and you start watering next year, is it going to come back?
What grave does.
Yeah, I think it does, and letting people know that would be a good educational tool.
It's fertilized.
We just cut the sod off, do a burial, put the sod back on, tamp it down, and if it's on like a Friday that we dig it and Monday and it's July, it'll die out, but it always comes back after the rains come.
Well, particularly, that'll be something we sure want to cover this year, because of the fact, we're looking at that, one of the first things, in fact, where I was parked the other day on my cardiac rehab, Tom's facility, there was a couple of his workers there that we were talking, you were already been talking about, and he was saying that one of the first things you were thinking about doing was let your turf go bad.
Right.
Yeah, you've already been talking about.
That's the highest water used, so that'd be the most logical.
Of course, like the school district with their turf in the different places in your cemetery, that's pretty difficult,
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, because people want to see green grass on.
Oh, yeah, they want to
And
and
before-
maybe it wouldn't work, I don't think.
before we charged an endowment care before 1979, that grass was put there for us workers, actually. But once you started charging an endowment care, people expect that grass to be green now.
They do.
There's a whole different look at it.
Okay, well, good, let's kind of summarize what we've covered and see where we're going from here. George, you got it?
I have a quick question. When we're doing publicity, going back to the landscape irrigation workshop, is there going to be some discussion on the drought or the possible drought and what it could mean to landscaping? Will there be a discussion in there?
Definitely.
That'll be a plug-in, because we
If that's gonna be a naturally occurring
know where
subject.
we're at.
I just thought that if I was publicizing it, it might.
Yeah, I would think that, just keep thinking, we would still want to keep the wise use of water. Because, when we come up with this April or the drought committee or whatever, when we are in a real no more rain situation type thing, well, then we would be in a drought where we would need to turn off water. And a lot of people don't, and I didn't either, George, until just recently, this A-type that you're talking about, that's 30%, they cannot really cut back anymore. I don't know how they would cut back anymore. You think?
Not much.
Not much. But anyway, let's get on with our, so we're all on the same page on our irrigation workshop. We have one more committee meeting, standard committee, that's on the 4th of February. We've got to make sure that we got our act together and almost ready for a dry run on the 4th of February or shortly thereafter. So where do we want to go from there as a group putting this on? What's your thought? Do we need another workshop not as part of the committee meeting session, or what's your thought?
You're saying, where are we gonna go? Clarify, I'm sorry.
How do we
we've got now to finalize as much as we can.
Game plan.
The game plan for that weekend.
Yeah.
And how do we want to do that? Do we want to just try to get the vendors and all of these people lined up and then meet again on the 4th of February? We will still have 3 weeks before the thing happens.
Yeah, because then we can
Yes.
meet one more time if we have to.
And we can meet after that. Now,
Mid-month.
Tom, and I'm sure that these other people, our other primary big people, would you be willing to meet with us again on the 4th?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And you be thinking about it, you know what we're talking about doing, now, Jack, how about you?
Yeah, I'd be glad to come.
Okay, good.
You know, hopefully by then you'd have a better idea of what vendors might be coming. Possibly you're gonna see some of the signups as far as outside landscapers, et cetera, that would be attending.
Okay. How do we want to do that on the vendors? I would not, how much time to do that? You, what's your thought on the vendors? I'll be happy to contact.
Yeah, I would beg off that.
Okay,
School is starting.
I'll work with Dormac, Hutter, are they still north of Chico? That's where I bought a lot of stuff.
Chico Sprinkler.
Sprinkle sprinklers up on the
Sprinklers, yeah, Chico Sprinklers.
And Ewing is northeast avenue.
Yeah, Ewing is,
There's one street down from that, there's a big Hutter supplier, find that kind of stuff. Okay, and then, I'll talk to both of you guys. So if you think about it, I'll get a hold of you. If you have some names or cards in your office, I'll pop in after my rehab. I'll have it.
And Don
Yeah, right, and I know Joel and Pat pretty well. Do you want to, you're in there every once in a while,
Are
right?
we done?
In case, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, tell them we'll be contacting them.
That's what I told Joel, I said we get some flyers together, I didn't know if we were going to do a sign-up sheet, I said whatever we get together.
Okay.
And there, I happened to be in there, and he was in, so I went up and talked to him.
And I'll final up with our community relations consultant. We'll get flyers up
And maybe that, do we need to put it, just public information, and I'm asking this. If we got January's bill pretty well figured out.
it's in January's bill.
Yeah.
We're announcing it.
Yeah, okay, good.
It's already got the phone number to call and the date to do it for RSVP. And then we'll coordinate a PR plan so that we've got the message going out prior to the meeting. We have next, we should have a responsive.
And Ward, you're going to contact the people that you have here. Okay, good. And I'll contact, Mendon, Dormac, Larry. Everyone else.
Please?
Pat? Yeah, I'll contact you.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been there a couple times a week or more than that. So I'll contact Mendon's and Barry, and I've already talked to them a long time ago. And then Dormac, and hopefully that will be. Okay, good.
Who's gonna do the PID part?
It'll either be me or Ricky.
Okay, because maybe I'll contact you guys and see if we can tie that together.
Yeah.
And send something out to the committee before the next meeting.
Yeah, we'll start trying to pull some samples, charts and graphs and stuff.
Arts and crafts, cool.
Yeah.
If there's going to be materials passed out, is it possible they can come, the originals can come to PID first from the different people who want to have materials going out? Because that way we could put the PID messaging on the header of the materials so that everything that people have when they come back will come back as the PID partnership.
Are you talking about our vendors?
Whoever's going to be handing out, like if you're doing a presentation, you have handouts, it would be nice if we could
Yeah,
message
well,
that
that's a
so it had PID on it.
That's definitely
Well, maybe we should-
probably won't.
Okay.
They're gonna have their own.
They're gonna have their own stuff. Okay, so if people have presentations they want to give out, get it to PID early on so that we can message that so the copies have that on
That'd be great.
And you were gonna talk to the guy in Yankee Hill about
Yes.
the one section? Thank you.
And I'll bet you that if he, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Pitt doesn't have a platter that he can break. You know, some of these plants that you're talking about, he doesn't water, you know.
I know.
Just have it in a pot someplace. I'm sure you're happy to do that. Okay, so what we'll do on that, on the 4th, we'll meet again, same time. Yeah, the 4th of February, that's our next regular meeting. And we'll try, we'll try to have the vendors thing put together, Ward will have his Yankee Hill people, and George and Mickey will have somewhat that put together. Ward, you're gonna be able to come and video it again? And see, part of this video, when we do the actual one on the 27th, this will have some of the plannings in it, maybe like a 10-second blurb or something, whatever. Those guys are real good at editing and put something together. Okay, anything else you folks need?
Well, we have what we
We
need.
got it? Well, good, I think we've got enough of an early start. Well, we don't stop. We'll be in good shape, but I think we're gonna have a really great workshop. I really do. And the reason is because of you people.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We're about 5 minutes late. Not really, 5:30.